Top 10 Sci-Fi Movies on Netflix. The selection of sci-fi films is one of the strongest departments within the larger list of movies on Netflix, and it has a nice mix of classics alongside a number of newer stranger films. So grab your popcorn and stay with us until the end of this video, because today's video is going to list down the top 10 sci-fi movies to watch on Netflix. So let's get started. Number 10. Train to Busan. If there is one sci-fi movie to watch this month, and at some point in the next 2 weeks no less, it's Train to Busan. The premise is ostensibly zombies on a train, but writer-director Sang Ho-yoon infuses this Korean horror with enough suspense, excitement, and humanity to create one of the best zombie stories in recent memory. The central story involves a selfish, workaholic father taking his daughter on a birthday trip to see her mother. When an outbreak deters their travel plans, the story mutates into a high-adrenaline, zombie-ridden nightmare, leaving the two to seek the only safe city left in Korea, Busan. And because it's leaving the platform soon, make this one a priority. Number 9. Resident Evil Afterlife. The Resident Evil movies are pretty much all universally despised, but there's no denying that they do deliver some ridiculous, pulpy zombie horror action that's actually pretty fun if you're a bit delirious and watching it in the middle of the night. And with the newly confirmed live-action Resident Evil TV series in the works, there's no better time to commit to at least trying to understand what's going on here. It's also only 96 minutes long, so what do you have to lose? Afterlife is the fourth of the 6 movies starring Milla Jovovich as Alice, and 5 years after the T-virus has swept across the globe. She wanders the wastes in search of survivors. After an initial confrontation with the villainous Wesker leaves Alice depowered. She teams up with fan service caricatures, Chris Redfield, Claire Redfield, and even a Jill Valentine cameo to try and take him down in Los Angeles. Number 8. The Girl with All the Gifts. This 2016 BAFTA-nominated thriller is an adaptation of an award-winning novel about a girl who's one of many second-generation children born into a zombie apocalypse who retain their intelligence after being infected. The protagonist Melanie and a host of other children are being studied in a facility run by desperate scientists hoping to find a cure before traditional humans go extinct. The Girl with All the Gifts draws obvious inspiration from previous science-heavy zombie movies like 28 Days Later, I Am Legend, and Dawn of the Dead in its world building and overall execution. But the core idea of Zombie Girl struggling to retain her sense of empathy despite an overpowering hunger is compelling and novel. For those who crave more of the undead, The Girl with All the Gifts is a contemporary classic you need to see. Number 7. Snowpiercer. From visionary South Korean director Bong Joon-ho, Okja, comes Snowpiercer, a brutal, grim piece of dystopian sci-fi released in 2013, in which an impossible train in perpetual motion hurtles through the icy apocalyptic wasteland of Earth. A failed climate change expert plunged the world into this second ice age, and the only survivors are those lucky or unlucky enough to have made it on board this ridiculous train. And it ain't stopping. Snowpiercer stars Captain America, aka Chris Evans, as a grizzled survivor from the back of the train, leading a violent uprising against the aristocrats in control of the rest. For anyone who wants something a bit edgier and frightening to watch on their way into autumn and eventually winter, look no further than this wickedly compelling dystopia. Number 6. Jurassic Park. Dino Disaster. Somehow, Steven Spielberg's iconic dinosaur movie is already leaving Netflix after only having just returned at the start of August. The original Jurassic Park achieves a captivating sense of natural majesty and sheer terror that we haven't seen since from the franchise. This 1993 film may have launched a wildly lucrative sci-fi blockbuster series, but as the sequels get bigger, the overall quality seems to diminish. Based on Michael Crichton's 1990 novel of the same name, the titular Jurassic Park is a park created on a tropical island, where genetic scientists figured out how to clone dinosaurs based on ancient DNA found in mosquitoes. While the science doesn't make a ton of sense, this is an excellent premise for a wildly entertaining movie, where you get to watch a young Jeff Goldblum make a bunch of wise jokes for a couple of hours. Number 5. Starship Troopers. Sadly, all good things must come to an end. Starship Troopers only arrived on Netflix just in time for summer on June 1st, and it's leaving at the end of September, right after the season ends. It's almost poetic for the steamy, gory, pulpy action film about humanity's war against a race of bug-like aliens. The satirical film, directed by Paul Vanderhoeven, follows a young soldier training for the military amid the outbreak of an interplanetary war. There are monstrous bug aliens, telepaths, and all sorts of high-tech weaponry. Action-packed, outrageous, and often hilarious, Starship Troopers is the perfect kind of brainless entertainment that's secretly lowbrow brilliant, with its meta-commentary on the military's fascist tendencies and commentary on barely veiled racism. There's a lot to unpack here if you're looking for it, or you can just watch good-looking people fight and get screwed by a bunch of huge, nasty bugs. Number 4. Bird Box. If you're a sci-fi enthusiast who has Netflix, frequents this monthly roundup often, then chances are you've already seen Bird Box. It's been almost 2 years since it was released, so it may be time for a rewatch this Halloween season. The Sandra Bullock-led apocalyptic horror film that leans more toward Lovecraftian dark fantasy than it does overt science fiction, but the overall execution feels reminiscent of survivalist sci-fi horror like 28 Days Later or I Am Legend. Unexplained entities suddenly emerge around the globe one day, and anybody who sees them instantly goes insane. In the vast majority of cases, a person will commit suicide almost immediately in the most straightforward way possible. Survivors who venture out into the world have to travel blindfolded to avoid meeting such a grim fate. Told across 2 timelines at the start of the apocalypse and 5 years into it, Bird Box focuses on Mallory Bullock, a frustrated woman who will do whatever it takes to survive. Gripping, tragic, and eventually pretty uplifting, Bird Box is a fascinating meditation on how difficult it is to retain one's humanity despite bleak circumstances. Number 3. Freaks, You're One of Us. This German-language superhero film only just landed on Netflix library on September 2nd, so the jury's still out on whether or not this weird but fun plot hook makes for a good movie. Wendy, Cornelia Groschel, lives a mild-mannered life as a waitress, but after she discovers that she has superpowers, she soon meets 2 others like her with different abilities. As government agents and other nefarious parties begin hunting these supers, they're left to decide how they want to use their powers. Number 2. See You Yesterday. While the title might make it sound like it's the run-of-the-mill time travel story, See You Yesterday is a surprising entry to one of the genre's favorite tropes. Deceptively light in its opening scenes, the central premise of the story kicks off when teen scientist CJ loses her brother in a police shooting, leaving her and her family reeling. However, unlike so many that have experienced a similar loss in the real world, CJ can actually change things to ensure it never happened. Implementing her newly discovered secret of time travel, she and her friend Sebastian go back in time to prevent this tragedy from ever occurring. Yet the cyclical nature of time means that new threats and disasters appear every time she attempts to correct the mistakes of the past. Number 1. I Am Mother. Mother is a humanoid robot that tends to embryos in an apparently deserted underground facility, raising one of these to young adulthood and referring to the young woman as daughter. The 2 form an emotional bond that is both unsettling and endearing. When a stranger appears at the base telling daughter of the genocide that AIs like Mother has unleashed on the human population, the once safe, if creepy world that daughter has known becomes uncertain and terrifying, hinging on its disturbing, horror-infused vibes and solid acting by Hilary Swank and Clara Hooger, along with the collaborative performance of Mother. This is not to be missed by fans that love a good, ominous sci-fi film. I Am Mother is one of those stories that is remarkably difficult to describe without inevitably giving away a major twist. But that's all the more reason for genre fans to seek it out for themselves. Claustrophobic dystopian tales that keep you on your toes until after the credits roll, like Solaris from 1979 or Moon from 2009, will delight in the heady concepts tucked into a roller coaster plot. And this brings us to the end of the video. What are your thoughts on today's video? Share with us in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for amazing movie reviews coming your way. And thank you for watching.